And it's good on there. And is it going to your tubs? Yes or no? Oh, yes it is. How about that? That's fucking fantastic right there. I'm so proud of this community. Alright, so that's not working, but whatever, all the same. Yep, it's another one of these nights where I'm figuring it out as I go along, so... Well, that's that. Now to make the announcements. I'll get better at this eventually. Again. Someday, hopefully. Maybe. Be sweet. I think it would be fantastic. Defeated. Hey, Liz. Yeah, I'm horribly fucking confused with whatever this bullshit that Restream is doing for me now. Because it's like, due to recent updates and events, we are no longer able to process your request in the way that you requested it. To which I say, why not?
I'll stop the ass kissing with you.
Isn't that what I requested? Oh yes, I forgot to bring the Streamlabs. We're almost back to normal, people. We're almost back to normal. It'll be fine. It might take a while, but we'll get back to normal. You know. Thank you, Skull Maggot, for the host as always, my friend. Thank you. All right, let's shrink this bitch down. There we go. Puts it there. Hey, look at that now. Boom. Okay, cool. I'll be right back.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
Oh, Mahatma Gandhi. All right, cool. And we're back. All right, let's take a look, see what the activity is. Good 8 people here now. Mickey, Ben, Skull, Crab, Liz. All here. All in the right places. So. And I'm not seeing anything on YouTube. Not that it really matters. There's 2 people watching now, but again, I'm still trying to... Just as I figured I'd actually gotten it all figured out, right? Like, I know what I'm doing. I'll be fine. Restream's like, no, I don't think so. I got some surprises in store for you, Sonny Jim. I'll tell you what. So, but I do have something of a show kind of planned tonight. Like I said, we're easing back into this. We're sort of graduating. Oh, I should do this too. Hang on. There we go, and I'll just pop it into Discord in case anyone there doesn't know. Nice slow start, nice easy Wednesday. Nothing big. Didn't have to pick up any ashes today. There were no corpses laying out in the street. We did discover that, well, we think, yeah, a dude just like possibly just flung himself out of the window. So, whoosh, Superman. Got to do a little Sherlock Holmesy detective work over the matter because my neighbors had all these wild and silly theories and were looking at all of the wrong things and asking all of the wrong questions. And so I let them try and do the math as to how much a man who, let's say, weighed roughly, let's just estimate roughly 180 pounds, what force of impact he hit the pavement with after falling roughly about 54 feet out of a 5th floor window, which I estimated to be about, well, he hit the ground about 40 miles an hour. And then from there, they're like, but no, his weight affects it because, like, no, all matter falls at the same speed. That's how gravity works, and they didn't want to hear that. And then after, like, listening to them go and try and figure it out for 40 minutes, I'm like, yeah. Does anyone know what position the body was in? I'm like, oh, that's a good question. I'm like, well, I do. So my guess is he took a Superman dive out forward and then did a little front flip before he hit the pavement there. So, but we have in my immediate area. I want to get one of those little signs, like they have, like, we have been 300 days since a workplace accident. Yeah. I want to get to the point. I want to just put one up like, it's been 2 days since someone died in my within like 100 yards of me. So, hope you're all doing well. Hope you don't have corpses piling up on your steps. Because I'll tell you what, those CSI folk, they're none too fun when it comes to getting that sorted. Yeah, so it's been an interesting week, let's say, to put it mildly. Just grabbing a few extra stories here that I might actually want to share and look at with you guys. Corpses falling on your stuff might be helpful right about now. Crispin, why do you need corpses
I'll be honest with
piling
you.
up like that?
I'm kind of retarded.
What good would that do anyone? Except you, unless, like, your steps are falling apart and you need the corpses just to use as, like, patchwork so that they don't fall over all the way. There we are, all together once again. Look at this stuff. Monday I did it. Monday I managed to show up, and now here it is. We're here on a Wednesday, and it was shown up as well, and that's nice. That could be interesting. And maybe one more just for fun. So tell me, chat, what's going on with you? Oh shit, I forgot to get into the voice room. There we go. Now I'm in the voice room. That'll happen in the second half, as always. Sorry, I just didn't want to let this cigarette butt go to waste. I've got a fun new plan I'm going to attempt. Probably fail, but attempt. Oh, okay. So you want piles of corpses so that you can reduce property value so as to get a cheaper place to live. Gotta say, that's not a bad plan. Oh, let's take our little Elton John shades here. Now we're talking. Now I feel good. So you got COVID antibodies. Ben got himself he bought some tickets to Mr. Rona's world tour, and apparently, how'd you enjoy the show, Ben? Was it everything you hoped? Did Mr. Rona play the classics? Did he play his rendition of Piano Man? Coughing up a lung and drowning inside. COVID man. I'm feeling a parody song coming up there. Oh, that's better. There we are. Yeah, I'm feeling a parody song coming on with that one. COVID man. Hurling through the bodies of everyone. Oh, Canucks. The Canuck hears me. Like I say, I want to write a parody song. He's like, be right back. Gotta go write the music for this. Well, that's the kind of supportive environment I rely upon here, in order to keep the things going, to keep it all moving forward in the forward direction that I needed to go in. I'm still amazed, actually. It's back on YouTube now. I wonder, did it make it to Facebook? Again, I feel like I'm brand new to all of this again, because I haven't done it for a while, and since I haven't done it in a while, it's not streaming to Facebook. Fuck you, Facebook. You don't need shit anyway. They actually did a thing, to where, like, if you play any music whatsoever on a Facebook live stream, they will shut you down. I should go get tested for COVID. And I should walk around with a bunch of Q-tips out in the street and just sort of hold them up by people's noses. Just cover my face it's a good enough mask. I just want to test you. Stab them in the nose. Stab them in the sinuses. I'm starting to think, actually, that this entire virus thing, even though, there's 200,000 people dead and it's a global pandemic and, science is on the side of the doctors, I'm not buying it. I think this is just a bunch of people with olfactory fetishes. People who just want to cram shit up other people's noses in some sadistic sort of medical fetish fashion. Walk around in PPE. You know how we used to have the sexy nurse uniforms? I guarantee you, if it's not already out there, there's probably a sexy PPE outfit. In fact, I'm gonna Google that right now. PPE outfit. Let's see if there's a sexy PPE. Oh, there. Oh my. Wow. Okay, was not expecting this, but apparently, apparently I make the very sincere mistake of underestimating the kind of shit people will get themselves into. It's too hot. Russian nurse suspended after she strips down to her underwear. Hang on. You've got a Russian nurse, right? Who's taking off her clothes, and there are people complaining about it. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. But look, your sexy PPE Halloween Ebola containment costumes coming out now. Look at that. I've been saying for a while though too that like the age of masks must be good for butterfaces. You know, it's got to be a good thing for those who just wish they could feel sexier than they are. And now you've just got like, now everyone's learning how to do their eyeliner in the best, sexiest way possible, so as to really capitalize on what's going on. But yeah, company at Ebola containment costume. Where's my sexy COVID PPE? Huh? Well, it's the same thing. Although I gotta say, if you're the type of person who gets hot looking at somebody do that with a set of gloves, holy shit, that's the nurse? What, is it someone complained? I need to find out more about this. Alright, we're going into the news now, folks. We're going into the news. I'm gonna shrink it up so I can get the whole, Tim Pool legit journalist thing going on. Jesus Christ. No, fuck off, New York Post. That's fucking fantastic. I think all hospitals actually ought to work like this from now on. Look at that. Smoking Russian nurse. Doing it all in bra and panties, and she's suspended. Russian doctors and a politician have reportedly come to the defense of a nurse who was suspended from her job for being just too fucking sexy while swabbing people's noses out. Bringing it back around to what I was saying before. Jesus, she's a smoke show. Yes, please, come and do all of my blood tests, please. I will test you, you will test me. No disciplinary methods should be imposed on the nurse, Vitaly Milanov said, trying to hide his erection in the hole he cut earlier in the day in his pants pocket. He told Russian newspaper Komsomolskaya Pravda. Komsomolskaya Pravda. I did it right. Everybody, celebrate my ability to read that. In no case should the girl be punished. I am sharply against this. The nurse, only identified as Nadia, 23. By the way, I'm pretty sure that picture is going to end up on a bunch of burner Tinder accounts very soon. Was suspended from Tula Regional Clinical Hospital for non-compliance with the requirements for medical clothing, said the Tula Pressa newspaper. Nadia claimed to managers that she did not realize that her underwear was showing through the PPE. Really? You didn't look in the mirror? You didn't look down and say, "Oh, look, my sexy body is completely observable through this. Catch me on my OnlyFans account, please." And that she was too hot to wear clothing. I agree, she is too hot to wear clothing. Can I get some pinkies in the chat? Can I get some ones in the chat there if you agree with me? She's just too damn hot to wear the clothing. The head of the Doctors Alliance, Dr. Anastasia Vasilyeva, said her group would assist Nadia in fighting the punishment, which she's been very naughty and she deserves some very much punishment. I agree. She also said that the material of the nurse's see-through gown was problematic. I disagree. Firstly, a plague-proof costume is never transparent, and because respiratory illness is famous for traveling through light. The thing about COVID that we're discovering now is it clings onto photons. So those photons are bounced back and forth between the sexy thigh gap of this Russian nurse and the patients who might just be there for ordinary cancer or AIDS. The last thing they need is the COVID brought about by sexy nurse girl. We need to pay attention to. We need to pay attention not to her underwear, says you, but the gown that does not meet necessary standards. Well, this. I'm glad I looked this up. I didn't know this was a problem. This is sexism in pandemic responses, because honestly, like, if you're lying in a hospital bed, and this woman, right? This woman shows up looking like that and does your thing and be like, do whatever you like. Whatever tests you need to do. By the way, I think there's a bit of an itching going on down there. Could you scratch it for me? It's just above the knee. Little bit higher. Little bit higher, please. That'll be fine. That's a hot-ass Russian nurse, though. I want to go to hospital in Russia, where it's probably less expensive than going here. And also, American nurses typically don't tend to look like that. Not just the naked part, but I mean, yeah, you could tell she's on her feet all day. Would not complain. No, would not complain at all. It was palliative care. Exactly. If it's palliative care at that point, I mean, like, I think every hospice worker at this point should be like some version of sexy. That way, while the old folks are like, croaking out, so long as the cataracts didn't get them too bad, their experience will be more positive overall. I believe this to be true. Ask for a house call. See, look, Crab's got the idea. This is working out. Look, everyone is knowing what is going on here. Now, something I also found that was kind of funny is parents accused of child abuse over water skiing 6-month-old son. He looks like he's having a fine time, and this is what those busybodies need to get around. The same people who would say that endangering the life of a 6-year-old who was not yours is wrong. The same people who are saying, like, sexy nurses should not be a thing. Although sexy nurses, as we know, have been a thing for a long time. Look at that sexy Ebola costume. I'm so scared. These people had sex with PPE on. Probably for the best. Probably also don't wear condoms either. Just because that would be, how to have phone sex when you're self-isolating. Jesus Christ! Like I was saying, so we're gonna get that new Supreme Court justice who's gonna make contraception and abortion illegal. Then we're gonna go into a second round of lockdown, quarantine shit there, and when that happens, you know what's gonna happen? Loads of just babies nobody asked for are going to be swarming like locusts, honestly. In a manner we just have not seen before, that we're not prepared for. See if I can make this a little bigger for y'all. Does that help? Yeah, it mostly helps. So yeah, anyways, this toddler kid was doing the water skiing there, and all right, I'm sorry, I gotta move things around because I'm like relearning again how to do everything. Yeah, this kid was water skiing. Looking all happy, and then some may look at a water skiing baby and think him incredible and adorable. He's kind of got to look like he doesn't know if he knows whether or not he should trust his father or not, or if he's just like, yo, are you still talking? Why are you still talking? I got this. But not everyone is so delighted by the delightful Tots water sports antics, and have criticized his parents for what is seen as putting shredding over safety, which is, well, that's the point of shredding, for fuck's sake. Oh yeah, Canuck, you missed it. I just wanted to show you this. So, yeah, this Russian nurse got suspended for looking a little too hot there, and I mean, honestly, I'd be okay. In fact, I think it should be standard hospital practice, especially here in the U.S. where we have to pay for the shit, right? Like, we got to pay for our goddamn healthcare. At least make it enjoyable. I'm just gonna, actually, like, I almost wish I could just rename this whole thing, hot Russian nurse lady. In fact, you know what? Somebody find me her, and we will make ourselves a whole clinic together where all of the medical staff will be only scantily clad, wearing what I'm guessing are see-through shower curtains. Yeah, exactly. That nurse will absolutely check you for an STI. That nurse could give me an STI. I'm fine with it. But back to water skiing death baby. At 6 months old and 4 days, Rich Casey Humphreys has smashed world records. Many wonder why I existed. The month he became the youngest ever water skier. Look him go. Up, yep. Just home, full speed. Look. Yeah, and he's fine. He's just getting choked out by his life vest. His parents look like completely reasonable people who have every reason on earth to breed. He looks happy though. I don't get what the upset is. Let's see. Let's see what people are complaining. So many things could have gone wrong. It's not cute just for likes. It's so dangerous and stupid. Another added, he looks scared and unsure. That's the face of scared and unsure if I've ever fucking seen one. Fuck it, these parents, you know what? We need to drag them behind the ski boat until their skin peels off in the water. And then that boy can be raised by foster parents. Because that always works out well. And they always love to take trips to the Grand Canyon and go water skiing. He was able to stand on his own at 3 months and shortly after started pulling himself up on the furniture. Well, why don't you shut the fuck up, Mindy and Casey, huh? Like some of our kids are born without fucking legs, huh? You know? That's a nice thing too. He's filled with so much baby fat. He's undoubtedly more buoyant than the water itself, so that when he inevitably does that like 360 fucking splash out tumble at 60 miles an hour on the water, you'll be able to find him because he's going to be floating. Now, with his floating face up, face down, I can't say. But, that's why I never take my kids water skiing because I don't own a boat. The world record for the youngest water skier had been held by a Florida baby, of fucking course. Zyla St. Ange. Checks out. Who held it in 2016 when she was just 6 months old and 27 days. Do I join the conversation? No, I don't feel like logging into shit. Coronavirus. German football team lose 37-0 after socially distancing from opponents. I'm liking this already. Oh, yes, he got the mud on him. Let's see. So, an amateur German football team lost a match 37-0 after they socially distanced from opponents due to concerns about the coronavirus. The losing side, SG Reipdorf Molson 2, only fielded 7 players, as that was the minimum team size required to complete the fixture. It came after their opponents for the game, SV Hodenstadt 2, previously faced off against a team with a player tested positive for coronavirus. Just like, walk up and instead of like when you just sort of graze their shin, they start lying down on the ground like screaming like, "Ah, god damn," Instead what we're going to get is like a player's going to get within 6 feet of him and they're just going to start like coughing. I'm sorry, I cannot continue this match. Oh, I have too much coronavirus. Despite all that, Holdenstadt squared Reppendorf did not feel conditions were safe. However, the 11th tier German football team, there's a $200 fine for forfeiting a game. 200 euro. And so Lower Saxony's 3 Crisscross League witnessed almost 40 goal drubbing equal to scoring roughly over 2.5 minutes. Ripdorf co-chair Patrick Risto told the ESPN after the game on 13 September, "We are thankful for those 7 players that volunteered. Otherwise, the club would have faced 200 euro fine for abandoning the match. That's a lot of money for us, especially during the pandemic." I'm pretty sure that the U.S. will have a relief package, which will send that along to make sure that those good folks have the money they need. Those foreign good folks. That's what we do. They did not understand, but we did not want to risk anything for the rest of the match. Our players returned to the field, but they only stood on the pitch. There's no perfect solution for it, and we went down this route. We wished Holden's thought no harm. See, that's the difference. If this was like a U.S. hockey game, they'd straight up be spitting in each other's mouths. Like, they'd just be like sneezing in their hands and rubbing their opponents' faces. Now, as if we haven't had enough silly, dumb, fucking silly as fuck coronavirus news. I don't know if anyone caught this one. Qantas airline offered a flight to nowhere, and it sold out within 10 minutes. Australian carrier Qantas announced a 7-hour scenic flight to nowhere, which would take off and land at the same airport amid interstate travel restrictions during the coronavirus pandemic. It sold out in 10 minutes. Because people are fucking geniuses. Like, oh, it's like, I'm so sick of all of this pandemic. I'm so scared. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to climb into a tube, a metal tube with recycled air full of a bunch of fucking strangers. And then we're just going to sit there breathing the air and looking at the ground. Good time. Good time. So, yeah, the unusual flight was scheduled to depart Sydney on October 10th and return on the same day, making absolutely no stops while promising passengers low-level scenic views over Uluru and the Great Barrier Reef, which, let's be honest, barely exists anymore, among other spots. Buyers quickly snatched up the 134 available seats priced between, fuck me, Australia, you have too much money, $575 and $2,765, depending on seating class, a Qantas spokeswoman told Reuters. 10 minutes, 134 people paid between 500 and nearly $3,000 just to fly around their country. We deserve 2020. We really do. We deserve it. We just deserve it. There's no getting around that now. Passengers are set to travel on a wide-body Boeing 787, normally used for long-distance international travel. It's probably the fastest-selling flight in Qantas history. God, I want to kill myself sometimes. This is what people are like, why am I drinking? But people clearly miss travel and the experience of flying. Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I love flying commercial. I mean, it's great. You shuffle on, you get into these cramped, uncomfortable seats next to strangers who may or may not smell. You got little kids kicking your seat. You got the flight attendants telling you, like, you got to do this and that. And I love being told what to do just so that I could actually, like, feel my sinuses fill up with pressure, pop my ears every 2 to 5 minutes just to make sure that I'm really getting the experience, right? Yeah, getting double billed by Spirit Air. Spirit Air needs to do this, and then they just need to, like, anyone who flies Spirit Air from now on, after everyone knows how bad it is, just crash the plane into a fucking mountain. Just straight up German pilot, kamikaze, that shit into the mountain, clean out the gene pool. It's too many people. Too many dumb people. So yeah, I miss the experience of flying. I love sitting in the airport wishing I could have a cigarette. I absolutely love overpaying for everything from for basic food and drinks. I love that every bit of reading material is trying to sell me crap I could buy for cheap on the internet that I also don't want when it's cheaper. It's a good time. Thank you, Qantas Air. You brought us forward into the future. It's a good time. Last month, Qantas CEO Alan Joyce said the airline shed 20% of overall jobs during the summer in the coronavirus pandemic. Quote, made for the worst trading conditions in a 100-year history. He added, to put it simply, we're an airline that can't really fly to many places, at least for now. Other airlines have offered similar sightseeing flights in Asia. The region has seen a 97.5% decrease in international travel amid border restrictions and to limit the spread of the virus. Airlines in Taiwan and Japan recently conducted similar flights to provide customers the pleasure of air travel to help steep declines in revenue. Chen Shuzi, 44, an engineer from Taipei, signed up for the upcoming Tiger Air Taiwan flight expected to depart the city and circle over South Korea's Jeju Island, the news reported. C said she signed up due to a recent lack of air travel and because the flight, which cost $236, included a 1-year voucher for round-trip tickets from Taiwan to Korea. That's not a bad deal. The pandemic has a devastating impact on tourism and airline industry, so I wanted to help boost the economy, and I miss flying. What do I think? What's Mustang Patriot think about this, her? What's he think? Well, I, for one, can't wait to get back on a plane and fly around on it. I love the scent of recycled air, human bodies sweating in their profusity. Is that a word? No? No. Human bodies sweating profusely as they they struggle against the waking nightmare of having a potential of having what is potentially an alcoholic Air Force washout. Take them up into the sky and highlight how it might get choppy. I miss children screaming and spitting all over the place. I miss $14 hotel bottles of well whiskey and the sensation of popping my ears every 10 or so minutes as my sinuses struggle to acclimate to the elevation. I miss looking out upon the clouds and saying, where the hell is God in all this? I miss watching other planes fly in a general direction towards my own and thinking, is this going to be that Fight Club midair collision? I should have bought life insurance. All in all, experience of flying commercial airlines has left me so wanting and what's the word when you miss something a lot? Oh, and then wanting and pining for the experience, pining for it, that I almost bought stock in Spirit Air, hoping that on my next flight I'd get upgraded from a milk crate seat to an upside down bucket. Qantas, you're doing God's work, especially when your planes tumble inexplicably into the ocean, leaving no survivors. That is a genuinely godly thing to do. Boom! I'm back, bitches. Mustang Patriot has revived himself. He's once again home. Let's see if anyone liked any of the liked. It's good. Good. Look. It's important here. Where do you think? Yeah, it just feels like I just watched the RNC convention. Oh, fucking piss off with your fucking bullshit. Oh. Let's be honest, Todd. You're only upset because he didn't wait the normal 15 minutes that men like you and I were taught when we were younger men. There we go. This is one thing I love about Republican dipshits, though, is like you can like make fun of anything you say about Trump, and they're like, huh, but Biden, but Obama. But yes, let's take these people as seriously as we can. That's why I take my my news commentary game very seriously, very fucking seriously. I don't know what I'd do without it. Genuinely don't. Anyway, I guess I can get rid of this now because I don't think there's any left. So there's no, let's just go back. I'm just going to leave this picture of the hot nurse up here. I don't think anyone's going to complain about that, right? That's a fine use of my, that's a fine use of this. It's a fine use of this all, right? Let's see, we'll even just transform it. Nobody minds and nobody cares, 'cause nobody's watching, so who the fuck cares? I'm okay with it, though. I'm just gonna incorporate, I'm actually just gonna download this sexy nurse picture. It's gonna be part of my background when I get back to having a background and reformatting and doing this for real. I'm gonna play snake jazz in the background too. There we go. See, now I'm like a real newsman. I'm keeping the headline story alive and active up in the corner there for everybody to oh yeah, it's definitely going on my green screen there. I'm just gonna have like a sexy nurse. I was so, oh god, I felt so bad leaving the place where my dad died. Not just because he was dead, but because so they made us wear these surgical gowns, not like the sexy sheer kind of thing we're seeing here. But no, like a real surgical gown. And I really wanted to keep it because I wanted to start doing skits again. And I'm like, I could do a skit about me doing surgery on somebody or something like that. You know? And I was thinking today, too, I'm going to start offering a new product. I'm going to get together with a, oh, what do you call them? The OBGYN. Partner with an OBGYN office in Black & Decker. And I'm going to offer the Black & Decker douche system. It's basically just, no, don't give any trade secrets here. It's a, what's a power washer? You know, the kind of thing they spray graffiti off of brick walls with. I want to take one of those, and I want to use it to like give people, you know, like a cleaning, as some politicians might call it. But I think it'd be a good thing because I was thinking too. It's like, can you imagine like a power colonic, a Black & Decker power colonic, sort of thing? We'll just give you a few drinks, get you a little stoned. Stuff this pipe up your ass, and then boom, you're getting cleaned out. You're getting cleaned out like you've never been clean. You're gonna have a cleaner asshole than you've ever had in your whole life. Your whole colon is gonna be spotless. You could eat off that thing. I wouldn't recommend it because that's where shit goes. But the thing is like you could, and I'm thinking it's a worthwhile thing. The nurse's name is Nadia Zoluvka. Oh, she landed a modeling contract already. Oh, dear good God. Hold on. Sweet. Fuck you. Oh, my God, Fox. You were the most annoying cunty fucking news I've ever encountered. Holy shit. Yeah. Kind of like her better as a blonde, but... Oh, so this happened back in June. Well, I'm, you know, a little behind the times on this one. Oh, shit, yeah, girl. Get it, girl. That's not real Russian modeling, no. This is not Adidas. None of this is Adidas. Still, good for her. I am glad to see she is doing so well. And he has very nice figure. Yeah, it's not an ad block issue on Fox. They just run these... They have their stupid little headline videos with this, like... I mean, tell me this isn't the most fucking obnoxious, like, we are important news kind of music ever. Matt Gaetz spoke with an attorney. That's a hot model girl, though. I'm glad she's getting... Yes, she deserves modeling contract. Model sexy PPE in time of pandemic. This is how we will make it work. Anyway, back to just keeping... Oh yeah, I didn't need that one. That wasn't the one. Where'd it go? Ah, there we go. Yes, good. I'm just gonna keep this picture up. It's good. It's a good thing. Yeah, now this is garbage too. No, this is a thing. Now this is like, I don't even think now this pretends to be news to the extent that Fox does. Fox is like, we're the most trusted name in news in America. Like, yeah, well, it's because Americans are fucking stupid. Of course you're trusted by them. Who gives a fuck? Stop playing the stupid music videos. If I want to watch your stupid news recap, I'll go to your goddamn YouTube channel. The same way that MSNBC's like, hey guys, we get that you guys are decreasingly watching TV. But that's fine, because you can come to our YouTube channel, and then in between, we'll, like, you know, you'll just, while you're trying to watch a news recap, you'll get ads for Freedom Boat Club. Do you like boating? Who doesn't like boating? Oh, you're poor. This is ad is not for you. But we'll make it run anyway. It's the future of media, is all. You know, what are you gonna do? Christ, I'm fucking low energy today. But so this has been that. I can see as usual, like no one's really jumping into the fucking room. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'll tell you what. I am going to boom, start with that. And actually, you know what? Hang on. There we go. Now we're talking. Now I know what I'm doing. And then I'm just gonna go here. And then I'm going to go here. It's so much better when I plan things, but why would I do that ever? Okay, cool. And now let's find ourselves the correct soundtrack. I'm going to go and smoke a cigarette, and then I will be back with you for more show. In the meantime, enjoy this. Sorry, wrong track. Hang on.
Immigrant punk, immigrant punk, immigrant punk. Immigrant punk, immigrant punk, immigrant punk. Pow! Upon arriving to the mountain path, I get penciled in as I got them white. Now that I am categorized, officer gets me naturalized. Immigrant punk, immigrant punk. Now that I'm living up and God knows where, sometimes it gets hard without a friend. But as I am lurking around, I see another immigrant punk. There is a little country mafia everywhere you go. She is good to me and I'm good to her. Woo, 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 yo, I legalize me. Immigrant punk, immigrant punk, immigrant punk. Despite the living in the USA, I'm still holding up in all my ways. I got a friend, we got a band, we still make sound you can't stand without banging on some big old pop without getting out of bed. But I'm relaxed, I'm just lurking around. I see another immigrant punk. There is a little punk mafia everywhere you go. She is good to me and I'm good to her. Woo, 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 yo, legalize me. Oh, yo, 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 yo. sing all night long. Don't you know this singing sells the troubled soul? Some
Not the smoothest transition I've ever made, but yeah, there you go. That was Gogol Bordello, by the way, for anyone who's interested. Okay, main stories are gone. I guess, I don't know, I think I only got like another fucking half hour in me anyway. Back to Sexy Nurse tune. Hang on. Sexy Nurse. Oh, song. Sexy Nurse song. Is there a Sexy Nurse song?
She likes to dance. She likes to dance.
No. Let's just bring Sexy Nurse Lady back. And we'll just leave her up there. Because it makes the show so much better. Oh yeah, that was fucking horrifying, wasn't it, Canuck? But, you know, what are you going to do? So, well, I don't know, let's take a look here. Fucking fuck it, I ain't talked to this guy in a while. What's happening, Smarmy OD? Oh, anytime now. You know, just speak whenever you like. Oh, I gotta say, this midweek's been a fucking disaster, hasn't it? Oh, well. Smarmy. Smarmy. Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh, what the hell?
There you are. What the fuck was going on with you? Hmm? Christ, if I'd have known things had dragged out this poorly, I'd have just gotten high before all this started. Ah, well, this is all fine and good with the timing of the worlds, the way the world has been working. Smarmy, I heard you say what the hell, and then that was it. Are you not coming back, or what? Alright, fine, fuck it, he's going up there. Fuck it. What's happening? Crabs. Nothing there.
Fuck.
Oh, there you
Oh,
are.
there.
There you are.
Oh, there you are. Okay. I thought my fucking mic was broken again.
You know, it sounds like it's fucking broken. It's buzzing like it's like fucking wiser. Why are you? Is this line tapped, Crab? Huh?
Probably.
Are you coordinating with the feds to try and take me down? Because if you so, you need to just reach out to them and let them know. Like, listen, he doesn't need your help. Okay. Listen, he's crashing perfectly well on his own. Needs no help from you. So, how's it going, buddy?
If the feds are watching you, I'll go down with you, all right?
No,
I won't.
no, you won't. I don't think our relationship has gotten to that point yet. Next thing I know, you're gonna be asking for your own drawer in my dresser. Like, can I have a key in a drawer? Like, no. You can
I was gonna ask you if I go host.
you could have bad directions in a trash bag. How about that?
I'll be your new co-host. How about that?
Yeah.
I'll be your news producer. I'll aggregate all the news for you. Everything that's worth our time.
No, I'm just gonna do it. I'm
See
just
on the show.
gonna do it. I'm just gonna have Dankula advertise for it. That way you can get 500 responses that I won't want to look at. Oh, I've been smoking too much.
We could just let the audience decide.
Ugh.
Audience, do you want me to be his new news producer?
No, that's vernacular anyway. Mm-hmm. Tell you
Anyway,
what.
how's your state handling this pandemic?
What pandemic? You wouldn't know it by hanging around her, I'll tell you what.
I don't know. I think my state's doing all right.
Oh, I mean, we're gonna explode with cases soon, and then I'm gonna stop going out and drinking, or maybe I'll just keep going out and drinking, saying like, "Fuck it," like let's roll the dice on this one. See how much of a part of history I can be.
I'm a little disappointed because I was thinking about moving to Oregon before this went down. I
Well,
visited there and I loved it.
Yeah,
And
now
then I
it's,
heard about all these fires over there. Now the whole place is on fire.
yeah.
What the fuck?
Oh, well, that's just God doing his thing, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it's either like I used to love the Deep South, but now it's drowning in hurricanes. So, I honestly say though, it's like one of the most fucking disappointing and depressing parts about this entire 2020 is that as like the climate's changing and everything's getting terrible, this horrible section of the Northeast that I live in is projected to become like the optimal place in the United States to live at a certain point. To which I say no. No, it'll never be that. It's never been that. It's certainly not that now. And it will never be that. Don't come to New Hampshire. Don't come to New England at all. This place is horrible. Weather's ridiculous. The people are unhappy. Food's shit. Why would you do that? I would go live in the fire wastes of the western coast.
Maybe God just shows your sense of humor.
All the fucking
Wants to bring everyone to you.
just imagine like like the western coast just becomes like the permanent fireland, right? And the best part about it is all you have to do is wade out into the honestly like very alkaline ocean side, but you wear hip waders and shit, and then because of the raw heat, all of the shrimp that live in the ocean are already boiled and just washing up on shore. And so it's nothing but like delicious pink prawn all the fuck over the place. Orange prawn everywhere. And then you could just pick them up and like dust off the sand and then eat them and worry about, especially if you're a smoker.
That's when you get a boat.
Yeah, people are going to be like, listen, you could get cancer from doing that. And you're just sucking down a cigarette like, what was that? Never mind.
No, you could just. That's when you get a boat. Just anchor yourself off the coast of the west coast and get one of those crab traps. You can collect all the prawns.
You can actually threaten an entire state now with a cigarette out west. Apparently, because people like get some road rage. People like, don't make me dump the cigarette out the window while I'm driving. I'll burn your whole fucking house down. See, it's bringing us to a whole new level of malevolence towards each other, and I, for one. I think we're overdue.
And that's the libertarian spirit.
Well, no,
libertarian.
Yeah, no, the libertarian spirit is like, I don't agree with all of these militias, arming up to defend the government, but I agree with their right to arm up and defend the. Shut the fuck up! You read Fountainhead halfway. Now you think you've got a PhD in political science. What the fuck is wrong with you? I love this day and age, though. We have, like, right-wing militias, right? Who traditionally, they've always been like, I keep my guns in case I gotta fight the government. It's like, is that what you keep them for? Well, yeah, but now I'm also keeping them so that I can go defend the government from the rest of the people. Oh, okay. You didn't make it into the National Guard, did you? That psyche eval didn't quite work out, maybe? Maybe you're a little bit overweight there. Maybe you can't make the PT test, huh? Yeah, you go ahead and... You go shoot yourself, protesters there, son. Meanwhile, the libertarians are like, I disagree with everyone's point of view, but I agree with their right to have the point of view. Like, thank you. Seal claps, everyone. Seal claps. They're doing so much. The Ron Paul revolution has come so far now that, like, I mean, I was a lino. In that I was like on the ballot as a libertarian and registered as one. And then when I like found out after I didn't win the election, when I was reminded there was another election coming around, I'm like, oh, fuck, I want to go change my affiliation and unaffiliated because I fucking hate these people. And, yeah. Oh, well, Ben just said Rucka admitted to Kilroy he hasn't read Fountainhead. No, that's the thing, dude. Rucka is the optimal libertarian, right? He's got his shit, he's got his money, he's got his house, and anybody else who doesn't have what he has just has to work harder. Fucking Dumb shits, dumb motherfuckers. And then the state's telling me, oh, you missed the deadline to like re-register. I'm like, wait, you're telling me I'm stuck with this? Like, that doesn't work out at all for me. I'm not feeling this, okay? If you could just take this baby batter fucking ballot bullshit off my plate, I could just go back to ignoring you, and you can go back to ignoring and occasionally persecuting me, and we can get back to normal here. They just wouldn't do it.
I'm only hoping that they win at least one national election, so they can get some more media attention, so that maybe people will stop eating up everything Democrats and Republicans say via their respective news outlets.
Here's the thing. This is the funny thing, and people always even with Fox News, Fox News is garbage. And most Fox News viewers, like loyal Fox News viewers, in my opinion, are probably kind of retarded. Sorry. But everyone looks at them like, oh my God, the Fox Corporation is just so evil and right-wing corporate. Like, no, they're evil and corporate, but the right-wing thing is just because they know that that's a market that, once they get them, they're never losing them. It's like Fox News and OANN fans are like K-pop stans in the political world. Like, they could literally the entire an entire K-pop band could go and systematically they could just be invited to China to participate in the Uyghur genocide, and their fans would just be like, it's just reaching out to a different culture or some shit like that, right? Yeah, it's the thing is, it's not about politics, it's about money. It's the opposite of the Joker. Fox News, it's not about sending a message. It's about money. Keep in mind, this is the same corporation that employed Seth MacFarlane to create Family Guy, right? The same corporation that owns a news corporation which bitches about degeneracy and the loss of traditional values and all that is the same one that airs Temptation Island.
I've actually never thought about that. For all the the ragging that Seth MacFarlane does against Fox, he's on Fox.
Yeah, no, I mean that's exactly it. I mean, these companies like MSNBC isn't trying to be like the progressive news voice on cable TV because they give a shit. They're doing it because it makes them a lot of money. Because all of the liberal arts grads and the people the Democrat loyalists who think Barack Obama was somehow a great president and all that, they're like, oh, these people are suckers. They'll watch our advertising endlessly. There you go. It's a business model. That's all it is. OANN. I mean, I'm sure. What is it? Charlie Kirk. He's a little tiny faced dipshit that runs that, right? I'm
not OAN. He runs.
I'm sure talent. I'm sure
something else.
Yeah, I'm sure talentless, semi-literate dipshits like Ben Shapiro or Charlie Kirk. I'm sure they believe things. I just don't think that they understand what they believe, and much like Sargon or Dave Rubin, or alternately that Vash kid, whoever that fucking kid is, right?
Turning Point USA. That's what he runs.
Yeah, Turning Point. That all these fucking people though, these are not the Candace Owens, perfect example. She doesn't believe anything. She just wants you to think she does, so that you pay attention to her and give her money. And bravo on really sewing up the dupe market on that one. But that's all this shit is. I mean, it's funny too because they're libertarians for all of their the closest thing they've got is Reason magazine, right? And I mean, if there's one thing I've learned, Nick Gillespie and Reason magazine, they are like the epitome of libertarian dipshittery. Because they'll run endless amounts of articles about how, oh my God, these poor nail technicians in New Jersey have to get licenses. Then someone's like, hey, I've got a whole in-depth bit of research on how the family court system is an unconstitutional, nightmarish mess, which basically creates caveat cottage industries for lawyers to be on the government payroll to get tax money while also billing the people that are forced to deal with them, also that they can destroy families and lives and drag out drag out what should be efforts to create healthy co-parenting arrangements into endless adversarial things that feed nothing but lawyers, judges, clerks, and every other little sort of cottage industry. And they're like, no, we're not sorry. We're really focusing on nail technicians in New Jersey. Fuck them. Fuck them. The worst thing about libertarians is for all their talk about they love free markets and business. They're really bad at them. They're fucking bad at them. There's no getting around that.
What if you were to write your own? What if you were to write your own article detailing your own experience with family?
I
court?
did, and they told me to fuck off.
No, publish it yourself.
Where? Who's gonna give a shit? What? The fucking honey badgers? What? Come on. I'm done trying to save the fucking world. Right. I remember actually in college, I had to write a paper. It was the central question was, it's not my job to save the world. Agree or disagree? It's one of those, debate papers. You write it, you pick a side and your partner picks a side, and that's that. And
in your next novel, write a character analogizing your own experience.
No, I mean, I'm already writing that book. But no, it's one of those things because I remember back in college and I'm like, yeah, well, if I don't, who will, right? Then I realized nowadays I'm like, no. Listen, there are chickens out there in the wild who have yet to come home to roost. And I care about those chickens. And I want them coming home as soon as possible. And that's why I love 2020. It's been a terrible fucking bad. It's been a terrible goddamn year. But all the chickens coming home to roost. It's impossible not to see things for what they are. And if you don't see things for what they are, you're probably retarded.
There is one hope in that for society to restart. So we can restart back from the Stone Age, rebuild again. I don't know.
No, I think it'd be more like starting off like in the Old West with like partial 5G coverage, Kind of what I see. But that's just, that's just me. So, but yeah.
Assuming we use the nukes or not. If we use nukes, yeah, we'll be back in the Stone Age. If not, we're back in the Old West, yeah.
Let's see what. Here's something I love too. Russia suspends a nurse for looking too damn sexy during her thing, and honestly too, I mean, like I never exactly had like a pandemic fetish until I saw this photo, and now I think it's gonna be just how it goes from now on for me. People would be like, Ebola's coming around. I'm like, dick is so hard. But so we get that, and then here in the U.S. we get that doctor lady, like, you remember a couple months back, she's like, we already have a cure. It is hydroxychloroquine, and if you get headaches, it's because demons are having sex with you in your sleep. Like, she's still got a medical license. That bitch has got a medical license, and this sexy ass. This is like the best. This is like when you take a talented nurse and mix it with a sexy candy striper. Honestly, I doubt there are any patients complaining about that. So, this is where we're at in terms of healthcare. I think honestly, like, I'll be willing to make a deal with the free market cultists out there who think that, either going broke or dying because you can't afford healthcare is like a fair thing. If all the healthcare professionals look like this, and it could basically be like a strip club where, they give me vaccines and lance things and whatever, diagnose whatever horrible conditions I've brought about on myself by my bad decision making. I'm fine with that. Also because if I'm lying in a hospital bed dying, I know I don't have to pay that bill because I'll be dead before I get it. But then it'll be like, hey, is that Victoria's Secret?
I can think of a situation where a naked nurse would be a problem. If a man is having surgery on his penis and he can't move it at all, and he gets an unwanted erection, and surgeon actually accidentally cuts off his dick.
Well, that's just swing and a miss on your part, Crab. I gotta be honest. Oh yeah, swing and a miss on that one. Only because I'm saying, for one thing, like if I'm having surgery on my dick, I better be under, right? Which means that, like, at the worst, I'll get like morning wood while I'm deep under sedation. Yeah, But maybe that'll help them too. They'll be like, "Oh, thank God, okay. Let the clamps go. We don't need to hold this thing up. It's doing itself now." See, look, this is the difference between me and libertarians like yourself. I'm full of solutions, okay? And I got this. Naked nurses, and we can keep the for-profit model as long as you get to choose your own nurse, you know. Because there's some nurses.
Plenty of solutions. I just have no way of applying.
It's like a 50. Yeah, this is you get some like you get like a 56-year-old like like mother of three. Looks like a dumpy librarian comes in. She's like wearing some see-through business like that with like her bra, and you can see like titties just swaggering around. Like,
see, look, Ed's on my side. You'll get morning wood. He'll look at your stitches after the surgery.
that's not Ed. That's Erdanya. And he's from
whatever.
Yeah, and he's from a country that has socialized medicine. So like, if his stitches on his dick implants pop out, he can go back and get them done by the sexy naked nurse for free again because he pays taxes. Honestly, I'm at a point now thinking on this. Let's take it a step further. Fuck socialized medicine. That's a foregone conclusion. We need that. We need socialized strip clubs. We need a place where all of these sexy Russian nurses, after they get kicked off the rolls, can come and work in a way that, the state will pay for it. And they'd be like, "You want a lap dance?" And they'll be like, "Shit, yeah, I do. Who gives a fuck about a deficit?" Right? If we spent half as much...
Which is why we should all be rooting for automized jobs everywhere.
If we spent...
take over all the jobs, right?
Well, here's another thing, too. Look, here's an interesting thing. Bo with the fifth column, he pointed this out, and I found it kind of interesting. "Oh, shit, Skull, you got to go to bed?" "Oh, I'm sorry, homie. Sorry I didn't get you in. The Friday will come in."
Be safe, Skull.
But yeah, Bo the fifth column pointed out an interesting notion, right? That as the number of mass shooters increased, the number of serial killers decreased. And they're both after the same thing. Notoriety, fame, pay attention to me. I've been living in the shadows and here are my beliefs. That kind of bullshit, right? But most of these cats are incels. So if we had publicly subsidized sex workers, right? It's like a library. You could just go check a hoe out. Even keep it for like a week.
As long as identities remain anonymous.
Exactly.
So that incels can go in there with no shame.
Oh, no, it doesn't matter what. Like, incels will feel shame no matter what. I mean, I tried to counsel them.
Because some people still feel weird about seeing prostitutes, right?
Well, I tried to counsel them in a video saying, like, it's the weird thing is, like, anybody who would feel weird about banging a prostitute when you can't get laid, but you dream of banging that, like, plastic Barbie doll Stacy that they're always complaining about, like, you clearly haven't talked, you really don't know women, do you? I would, like, even if there was no sex involved, I would sooner pay just to hang out with a hooker and like have them tell me stories than one of those blonde Stacy bitches who's like, "Hold on, I gotta update my Insta." "Okay, what were you saying?" Like that bullshit. No, fuck off with that. Also, I will be. I'm actually, because I do want to have. I want to start having like sit down podcasty conversations here at some point, and I have a friend of mine who was like, she was a hoe for, I think, a number of years. She had some problems and all that. But the great thing about her is, like, she's shameless. Like, she owns all of it. It's none of this, like, shameful recollections of a past she'd rather forget. It's more about just accepting, like, yeah, I was there. I did that shit. It was fucked up. You want to hear about it? Like, yes, I do. I genuinely do. So look out for that. Those will be coming soon.
It could be a profitable, legitimate profession if it was legal. And imagine if it was unionized.
Exactly. Hookers union? I would totally organize that union.
To make it safe from, violent pimps.
Yeah, it's like I'll be like the president of like the International Sex Workers Union, right? And then there'll be something about like a scandal is rocking the world of organized labor. In that it was discovered that the president of the prostitutes union has been having sex with his union members. We reached out to some of the union members to find out what they thought, and they said, "Oh shit, he did? Did he like it? I'm down." It's kind of what I do for a living. He got me health care. I'll fuck him. Even though he's fat and ugly. I don't give a shit. Be like, see?
But serious question to all hookers watching, because you know this, they love the show. How many secrets does someone spill while having sex? I wouldn't know, obviously.
Well, that's why I'm looking forward to like sitting down with my friend there, if she's willing to come on. I think she would be, because like I said, like, and and this isn't even a joke. Like, I genuinely respect the fact that she doesn't like there is no shame. Like, she feels no shame for what she did, because she did what she had to do to get through the time that she was in. Now she's moved on. She's doing better. She looks back on it. She's like, yeah, that was a fucked up time. But she speaks about it with not pride, but you know, she accepts and is unashamed and unabashed about who she is and what she's been. And it's funny because I think to myself, I'm like, wow, like, I know a lot of people who were never hookers, who never committed any crimes, who like live with deep-seated senses of shame, you know?
Well, being honest about your past means that no one can use it against you.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. And about your
no more to
present.
do it.
Yeah, just an interesting point of view, I guess. Dilip VR is asking what like a nurse themed maid cafe. Listen, if you want to go oh, by the way, Hollywood Henley, I haven't made a video in like a month and a half or 2 months now, but it's been a rough patch. But no, I still do this show 3 times weekly, except for the last couple weeks, and then my channel still exists. Although I'm not sure what the fuck I'm gonna do with that now. Kind of hard to give a shit, you know, these days. But listen, Crab. At this point, I'm gonna boot you, boy. I'm gonna boot you. I'm gonna kick you here. But what would you like to leave us with tonight, homie?
I want to promote myself.
Go ahead.
I don't know why you got that trouble with that. Crabtalk.com. That's my website.
Crabtalk.com. It's talk about crabs, talk about eating crabs.
I know, I'm a selfish guy.
Getting crabs, having crabs, how to deal with crabs, how to learn to live with crabs. Crab fishing, you know? VR crab
I love
fights.
you too, wizard.
All these kind of things. All right, you're off. Goodbye. Go to crabtalk.com / Philly D for 10% off your first purchase. See you later. All right, the next one coming in. Let's see if we can get Smarmy in here again. Are you alive now, Smarmy? Did the whiskey get to you, son? Have you been? Uh-oh. Yeah. Did you have an accident? Did you maybe do a little poopy, sir?
No.
Okay.
I was looking for the push to talk, and apparently the mic was just on. But hey, good news! I can actually make out what you're saying now. So improvements.
Nice. Yeah, I brought you in before, and then it's like, cause I'm like starting to do it. Like, Jesus Christ! What was that noise? Fuck, that was scary.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
the Spartan 9137 is subscribed on YouTube. Oh, I'm glad you found it there, because, like, honestly, this is the first night in, like, over, like, 2 weeks that I figured out how to get back onto YouTube, so.
sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, you sounded like a robot, like trying to imitate your voice, but not in any sort of coherent way. It was weird.
You know, that kind of sounds like me on an average night, to be honest.
But more so.
Yeah, it's like you're like a Mad Lib chatbot with your own voice. How have you been doing, homie? Are you enjoying the end of the world as much as I am?
Oh yeah, the riots are very nice. I got to hear those 2 cops get shot here about 2 hours ago, so that was nice flashback material.
Wait, what? Couple
Yeah,
cops
2,
just got shot?
Oh yeah, a couple little
Oh.
LAPD guys got
Oh, so
shot.
Louisville's popping off then, huh?
Kind of. They put a curfew in at 9. It seems like they're kind of getting a handle on things, but I'm still hearing, helicopters everywhere and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, boy. Let's have a little looky-loo here. What I'm looking at here. What's going on up in here? Oh yeah, we got ourselves some police stormtrooper reaction. Got their sawed-off broom handles. We got the lady cops out on the front, and they're handcuffing some folks. You know what here's the thing not a lot of people understand. All these police batons, they're not supposed to be intimidating. They're basically just like, they're devil sticks. You remember devil sticks? They all lost one of their sticks, and none of them have their pom-pommy stick anymore. So now they got nothing to do but, hit, young people with them. But yeah, so that's it's good times. So you got to hear the two police get shot. Let me ask you, did the sight of the sexy Russian nurse make the night any better?
Huh?
The
I'm
sexy.
missing a reference here.
Oh, you're not watching the stream anymore. The entire first story was about a sexy Russian nurse who got. Well, here, I'm just gonna just stream it to Discord for you so you can see what I'm talking about here.
Let's see if this works.
Yeah, go ahead and take a look at that there. Yeah, see, look like that. Look at that. Yeah, yeah. She was treating COVID patients dressed like that. And I'll be honest, if I'm drowning in my own lungs, that's what I want. That's what I want to see. That's who I want treating me. Okay.
Pretty much. I mean, you're in bucket grounds right there.
Exactly. And yes, Dead Wolf, I did get to see that, but that's detracting from the other thing I'm enjoying looking at more, because listen, cops are getting shot. It's fucking half the country's on fire, half the country's drowning. The remaining portions of the country that aren't on fire are about to be set on fire by one of any number of people. We need the sight of a sexy Russian nurse to bring us out of our funks, So.
Something positive to look forward to.
Well, are you on this? Are you of the mind like it's fun to watch it all fall apart, or are you of the mind like we need to get back to normal, even if that means shooting a bunch of people there? Which, let's be honest, that would be getting back to normal on its own.
Well, here's like part of my thing. If we burn this mother to the ground, I'm not going to be able to get medication anymore, which prevents me from basically turning into a big blob of fat. So I would prefer, it would be better for me if we try and keep the wheels on this thing. I've seen how far we could potentially fall, and I don't want to revisit that experience.
Yeah.
If we can help it.
I saw an interesting, and actually I'm curious because I've seen I see you on Twitter. You've got some you got your takes. You got some. I honestly like most of them, especially when it comes to people talking about what kind of gun I'm gonna carry to protect myself. I saw one the other day. Some guy was talking about he's got this little subcompact H&K, and this other dude comes back talking about I'm gonna stick with my Kimber 1911. First off, you got the wrong.
Oh,
yeah, first I'm thinking. First off, I'm first off, you got the wrong 1911. What?
I mean,
Kimber's fine, but get a Springfield. Come on, if you're gonna go that way, go all in. Get a fucking Springfield.
So, the thing with 1911s is they can be a very good combat pistol, but you have to know what you're doing with them.
Yeah.
I have a friend. He's like a MARSOC raider. He rocks a 1911 for his handgun all the time. The amount of rounds he must have through that thing are just unholy. I don't have any qualms with him carrying a 1911 for personal defense because he knows the manual of arms inside and out. He's never going to limp wrist the thing. He can handle himself with it. Most of us aren't putting that amount of rounds down range and training into under the conditions where we're creating the kind of stress or whatever to prepare you for actually like a defensive
Well, that's
situation.
well, that's the funny thing I find too, and I hope you'll have something to say about this. It's something I've discovered. I find tactical people, like, if you're just into it and you want to like get a neat weapon and mod it out and you love your gun and you go to the range and that's your sport and you like it, right? That's fine. If you graduate to buying like Facebook body armor, you're kind of a fucking retard in my opinion. Especially because also like you'll see these kids, they'll like rack up a bunch of range time, right? And then they'll call themselves trained, but they've never seen a gunfight. Now it's weird too, because like you take the Hollywood fantasy gunfight where like someone takes cover and blah 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 blah. You exchange rounds until you come out victorious. I mean, like that's a combat situation where like hopefully hopefully you're not in one, but like that's the situation like where you're with a unit pursuing an enemy on patrol or something like that. Whereas street gunfights are typically if gunplay happens in the street, it's like 5 to 10 rounds exchanged in total, and then people are running the fuck away. Cause it's not, you're not like, do you feel lucky, punk? It's like, holy fuck, do I have enough time to draw? And I don't know, should I? And this and that. And like, people always picture them like, yeah, if some guy tried to rob me, I'd just draw down on him and my laser sight would scare him off. No, he'd probably, if he's within 5 paces of you, he can get in and actually grab that gun barrel and then he has your gun because you're a moron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look at like what like my big takeaway from the Kyle Rittenhouse situation is if you're going to carry a rifle, carry it on a sling.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
he was dumb to be there. That
I hope that fucking kid goes to prison.
He probably shouldn't legally, under the letter of the law, spirit of the law. He probably shouldn't. The one thing, well, there's 2 things that can fuck him.
He crossed state lines.
Well, that's really irrelevant. 2 things. First, his legal team may not actually be looking out for him. They're on top of all like the QAnon craziness and whatnot. There's other defense attorneys looking at what they're actually doing and having questions.
Not surprised by that.
The one thing really that could sink his self-defense claim is if there's evidence that he was planning ahead of time to provoke a response from people, and then prosecutors can show that happened. If that happens, his self-defense claim is gone and he's going down. Other than that, like the first shooting happened, he was fleeing somebody. Someone behind him shot a pistol in the air. He turns around, and there's the dude right there in his face grabbing for his gun. That's based on that. That's a clean shoot. People start pursuing him again. He again retreats, and then they catch up to him. And when he trips, and that whole exchange.
I gotta wonder though with this though, because I keep also questioning to myself, because if his self-defense claim is also hinged on whether or not vigilantism is a justifiable situation in which force can be used, because that's what that fucking was. He's not sworn law enforcement. He's not trained at all. And the thing is he just decided, probably after getting hyped up through some internet bullshit, that he was going to strap up with his AR that his mommy bought him, cross a state line, go and defend property that was not his in a city he did not live in, going there with the, let's be honest, explicit purpose of going and being an armed vigilante in an area where there is high levels of violent conflict. Like, I would argue, if I was a prosecution, for instance, I would argue that, like, his intentions were clear with what he was doing. Because it's one thing to go, and if you're going to repaint a wall, right? Or even if you're going to just try and stand sentry outside of a place. That's one thing. He decided to go on patrol, which means he was actively looking for trouble.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. He did get separated somehow, but that's going to be a leap to prove. And I don't see a lot of the defense attorneys out there kind of giving that much credence.
What?
Like, if they can prove he was looking for a confrontation, but that
I would argue that the simple matter.
self-defense claim.
I would argue that the simple matter of him going to a city that was not his home, in a state that he does not live in, armed as he was, that actually pretty much straight up, and that's a pretty cut and dry case of, you intentionally went to a place that you knew that this conflict could arise. You armed yourself in a way so that you thought that you could actually engage in said conflict in an effective manner, and then in the course of such wound up shooting and killing multiple people. Now, the intent there, the guilty mind, is the notion that he armed up and went by he wasn't called out, he wasn't invited, there was nothing. It was his choice. He decided he was going to arm up and go out there.
That sounds like it. Well, and part of the problem here is that there's misinformation flying everywhere in all directions about this. So, I'm hearing that he worked in Kenosha. So he was there to work that morning, and people he knew asked him to stay, and actually they provided him the rifle.
That was his rifle. That's been overall verified. That was his rifle that he took from his home, and he went with his rifle to a conflict zone, armed. Now, the intent there is pretty clear. Now, if he was just standing sentry, here's the thing: if he was standing sentry, if he got separated, right? If they were just standing sentry at a given point of at a given place, a business, right? In which also that violates, I'm sure, state law, because I've been a bonded security guard myself. And the thing is in order to get bonded as an unarmed watchman, you need to have a clear criminal record. You need to pass this tests, all this, right? But the thing is in most states, especially to get bonded as an armed security guard, which is what is required for you to operate as a private security force with a weapon, he did not have that. So that right there, he's already in violation of, undoubtedly, one state law, if not two. But the fact that he took his own weapon to this place that he did not live during a time of increased and very fiery conflict, and did so with what was honestly a motive, I won't even say political motivation, though I'm sure that existed, but I will say that, he had a motivation when it said, I'm going to arm up, I'm going to gear up, and I'm going to go into a conflict zone. That's basically premeditation right there. Even if he didn't have a target in mind.
I think that's a stretch, because you can also make the argument that he's seen people get assaulted badly, and he could reasonably believe that he might need a rifle to defend himself.
Yeah, but then it still comes back to the question of why was he there?
He did.
No, that's
the thing. He seems to have been mostly just kind of.
Well, imagine this.
Trying to help out.
Well, let me ask you this, right? So let's say, I live in a downtown area, yeah? And I see out my window. My window, I don't overlook any bars, but let's say I had a downtown window overlooking the strip, and a place that I even loved, right? A place that I go all the time. That I saw a vicious, nasty bar fight break out between two groups of people in front of this bar, and they're throwing chairs and they're doing all that. And I grab I grab a blade, yeah. I grab a blade and I run down there to equalize the situation. And I end up stabbing someone in the course of me jumping into a bar fight I was not a part of to begin with. Yep. Where does the culpability in that one lie?
It depends on if you stab. Well, it depends on if there was a credible or reasonable lethal force perception of threat.
Except what you're forgetting here is that
And
I put myself in that situation.
well, you can do that in the defense of the innocent, where you can run into problem and why someone like Andrew Branca would advise that you don't do that is if you pick the wrong side, if you come to the defense of the person who instigated the fight, the guilty party, you've just committed attempted murder.
Fair.
So it's legally, unless you know damn well who started the conflict, it's very, very legally problematic.
Yeah, well, if you jump, but if you jump into a
get
fight,
into these situations.
yeah, well, if you jump into a fight that you're not involved in with a weapon, and you end up hurting or killing another person in the course of that, despite the fact that you were not involved in it, it's one thing like, a brawl breaks out, and actually, even when a brawl breaks out normally, and maybe I'm just speaking from New Hampshire law, 'cause that's what I know the best. But if a brawl breaks out, normal bar fight between handfuls of people, somebody pulls a weapon and somebody dies. Yeah, at the very least, that's manslaughter. Very least.
It depends.
And that's if you're involved in the fight, though.
Right. It depends. It depends if you're. So you.
Well, I mean,
have
if you can prove that, like, yeah, you had nothing to do with it, and then you were assailed, and maybe backed into a corner with no choice but to fight, right? Like it was actual self-defense, and that you've taken every reasonable step to avoid that situation, then yeah, you can claim self-defense in that. But the thing is that if you just jump into this fight and you're fighting, and then you produce your weapon and whatever, then all of a sudden, like, even if you're talking self-defense, if you're saying, like, I thought this guy was gonna beat me to death and you killed him, you're still potentially looking at a manslaughter charge there. Now that's if you were involved from the beginning. But if you're looking out your window and you just see a fight and you're like, fuck me, I'm gonna go jump into that with my weapon, and your action results in the death of another person, that is at least manslaughter. And that is, at least to my mind, what I'm seeing here. Because let's be honest, Rittenhouse, this wasn't some like noble, I'm going to go and try and do community service bullshit. This was, he went down armed and geared up, looking to be a sentry. And if he got separated from his little posse, well, then for one thing, that's why we have a bonding process for security professionals to begin with, because they're supposed to be trained to know what they're doing, not just some 17-year-old who wants to be a Marine badass so he can go all Rambo. But that's what ended up fucking happening. He put himself into a situation with the intent, going armed with the intent of defending property. Then when he was not defending property, ended up in a fucking conflict where he shot multiple people in a zone that he voluntarily chose to go armed for the purpose of bringing force to the situation, where he had nothing to do with it. So that's just my fucking perspective on it. I mean, honestly, like, I hope the kid goes to prison. I think
what I suggest, because I do know that you carry, is there's a book called The Law of Self-Defense by Andrew Branca.
I actually don't carry anymore, but I'm curious to read this book.
You should, and like anyone listening, if you're thinking about self.
Oh shit, you're breaking up. Are you on a phone? I think he's on a cell phone.
He's easily one of the top 2 legal experts in the U.S. on especially armed self-defense. It's a very good resource to have. And the other person to look to really is Masato Yu.
Side note, actually, because I'm curious, and I'm sure you've heard of it if not read it. Who was the? I want to say he was an Army colonel, and he wrote the book On Killing. He was I think a psychiatrist, like an Army psychiatrist, who studied like the effects of killing and how the military evolved to, like when we went from like World War II, and I think even in Korea, like, infantrymen were still training with, bullseye targets, right? And then they switched over to the human silhouettes, and they discovered like the amount of rounds that would be, sent down range, in a firefight. They had way higher hit ratios and way higher kill ratios once they like stopped training them to be marksmen, and once they started training them to shoot this human-shaped thing. Do you remember that at all? Actually, I think Ben might have just linked it. I'm gonna take a look real quick.
I've heard of the book. I haven't read it.
Oh, David Grossman. Yeah, Lieutenant Colonel David Grossman. Yeah, I've listened to his lectures and stuff, and I don't know. I just found that really interesting because kind of what you mentioned kind of reminded me of it. When you say I carry, I actually don't carry. I don't carry my pistols anymore.
Okay.
Well, for one thing, keep in mind, like, because I've got a baby Desert Eagle 40 caliber, and I've got a 357 Judge.
Right.
Neither one is necessarily comfortable, to carry.
Oh God. Well, that's like one of the things that I hear a lot in discussions, like why do you need a gun in public to feel comfortable? It's like there is nothing comfortable about carrying a gun.
No, they're heavy.
Period.
Yeah, I mean, like, physically and mentally. And one of the reasons I stop, like, if I'm gonna go out with a weapon these days, like, I'll oftentimes just go out, like, I got, a little flippy stabby knife, right? And then if I'm really feeling like carrying something with some weight, I've got a nice Skinner knife. But I discovered actually, even for like, and this is my honest opinion, and because I talk to people who talk about they want to get guns, they want to start carrying for protection, this and that. One thing I noticed, I honestly think that in an urban setting, for like, what the average person will encounter for a self-defense need, and I'm saying average untrained person, I always advise like a small revolver, right? Because most people aren't gunfighters, and even gunfighters aren't really gunfighters,
Yep.
But yeah, and so it's like, you take like the 1911, to bring it back to what we were talking about. Like, it's funny when you put a 1911 into the hands of people who are like, oh, I love my guns, I got Glocks and all this, and then the first time they handle a 1911, they're like, I don't know what the fuck is going on here. Like, so you're supposed to carry it chambered with the hammer back? Like, yeah, but no. But also, yeah.
I mean, that safety is kind of really important with this one.
Yeah, and
So,
well, then they're like,
so, like,
well, then they say like 7 rounds. Like, what if I need more? It's like, if you need more than 7 rounds, you are in far deeper shit than 8 or 9 or 10 will get you out of. In the street.
with semi-autos, a big reason to carry spare magazines isn't that you're going to necessarily need a whole ton of bullets. Is that if you have a jam,
Drop the mag, clear it, and smack a new one in.
right,
Yeah.
and it's just faster if you can just drop the magazine that's in it.
Well, that's
and
all.
load a fresh one.
Well, that's also another reason I advise like people like my neighbor, for instance. And I mean, we've got a lot of fucked up shit that goes on in this tiny little city. Like in the last week, it's a city of 111,000, I want to say. And in the last week alone, within about a 5-block radius of me, we've had 2 or 3 stabbings, at least 2 shootings, and 3 armed robberies, right? As well as like several strong arm robberies. Now, one thing I love, and if Crab is still listening, and I'd love to hear your opinion on this. I remember Penn and Teller's. You ever watch Penn and Teller's show Bullshit? You remember that? Great show. And I remember when they were
Got the DVD.
Yeah, when they were, so you remember the episode on self-defense, right? So there's 2 types of martial arts classes you can take. You can either take like your MMA style, I'm going to teach you how to kill someone with your hands kind of thing, or you get your, fantasy fighting karate class, that kind of thing. And I remember like the summation at that, like their summation of the notion is like the best way to defend yourself in this sense is gun, but also why do that? Because what do you carry on your person that is worth either your life or another human life? And well, that was kind of the thing I realized when I got to thinking. This is why, like, I'll carry a blade for like if it gets ugly, I mean, if somebody rolls up on me and tries to rob me, I'm broke as fuck. My cell phone's like a fucking janky piece of shit. Whatever, take it.
Right.
Here, there's a debit card in that wallet. If you can guess the code, well, congratulations. You have access to like $35, you know? But it's
Right.
like, but I also realized too, like, with with a gun, if you don't know how to handle a gun, and I'm not just talking going to the range, but you're not, if you don't actually train and know how to deal with the thing, it's a bigger liability to you and everyone around. Because if somebody comes up on you and tries to strong arm you, like, yo, give me your shit, and they're within 3-4 paces of you, and you pull your gun out, if you have that moment's hesitation, which every human being probably does, honestly, that's enough time for them to like actually take that gun in their hand, point it away from them, hit you, and take it. And then all of a sudden, not only is somebody who's trying to hurt you now in possession of a firearm and angry with you, but they've also robbed you of a gun. Whereas a
Right.
whereas a blade though, you can't exactly take a blade off of somebody quite as easily.
Yeah, you can.
If you know what you're doing, that's the trick. You can't.
Well, it's
You can grab.
similar with a gun.
Well, yeah, but you can grab a gun barrel and move it away. You try and grab a knife blade, and oh wait, owie, that hurt, right?
Yeah. Well, but let's say you grab the slide of the semi-auto, you push it, you pull it away from you, and someone squeezes that trigger off. You're not going to like what happens. to your hand.
Oh no, yeah, that's like grabbing a hot pan at
So-
that point.
So it depends, and the thing is that most people, most criminals, are chickens, and
Unless they're
once they see-
really high,
yeah,
which is
Well,
what we have here.
It depends on who you're dealing with entirely, but the overwhelming evidence is that most defensive gun use looks like someone presents a threat, the defender presents their firearm, and then the perpetrator sees the gun.
Egresses
runs
and egresses, as we say.
Yes,
Yes.
that is the overwhelming majority of defensive gun usage.
I
Um,
don't know. I'm still of the mindset though, and this is like what I've been taught by well, I mean, you learn in the army naturally, but it's like I've always been of the mindset that I don't want to pull a gun on someone I'm not going to kill. Like
Right.
if I draw a firearm and I point it at you, my intention and my will be to fire at you until you are no longer a threat. And this is the thing that comes back to the police issue when people are like, "Why did the police shoot this guy 12 or 20 times?" It's called fire till the foe falls. And like you're and
you shoot to end the threat.
yeah.
You shoot to end of the threat.
Yeah, and these are the same people too. Are like, you could have just shot him in the leg and wounded him. It's like, no, that'd kill him probably quicker than if I shot him in the chest. To be honest with you.
Well, people get too much information from movies and shit.
Yeah.
Like they think if you get shot with like a handgun, you're gonna go flying back 6 feet.
Yeah, or alternately, like if you get shot anywhere outside of absolute center mass of the head, it's a flesh wound. Like I had a friend of mine, his buddy accidentally, because he was another gun nut idiot. He was one of these tactical kids. He got himself he'd get all the gear. He had a leg holster, body armor, all this. No training whatsoever though, right? Outside of range time. Yeah, and he was cleaning a loaded weapon, and he shot my friend in the ass with a 380. And it's funny because when you hear that just on its own, it's like, that sounds kind of funny. You got shot in the ass. But what then you find out is the thing actually fucked his colon and intestines up a whole bunch.
Oh,
he
yeah.
had to have a
Oh, yeah. No question.
he had to have a bunch of his colon removed. The doctors even said yeah, you're gonna need a hip replacement when you're 40, and that's and that's out on light duty. This is the thing. It's the thing that I think it's an American thing, and it's what disgusts me, and I think it's what honestly is driving a lot of the problems that we have. Is that people view violence romantically. They see they think it's like the movies. They think and it's worse too because when you get these guys who get into scuffles, you know, these Proud Boys versus the Antifa types, right? Like, they think like rushing into battle is some glorious fucking thing, and they think also like, and then you get these armed militias, which I like too. I saw somebody today saying we need to stop calling these militias; these are armed gangs, because that's really all they are. They're just gangs. They just have a political ideology behind them, but. It's one of these things. Like I've never met a combat vet in my life, and I've met a lot of them. I've never met a combat vet in my life who thinks remotely positively about the experience of combat, about the killing of other people, about having their friends die. Like not one of them. You probably met more than I did. So I mean, you can correct me if you want.
So like losing your brothers and sisters, that's never good. Combat itself can be fun. Like when you get the adrenaline hit, when rounds are going back and forth, there's a fun aspect to it until like you get hurt or your buddy gets hurt or
Well, it's like when
something really messed up happens.
When it stops being a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean,
but it can go back and forth between being really fun or being really terrifying or just being messed up and damaging.
Well, I remember when I joined, right? And I mean, keep in mind too, like you know my story, so like I got drummed out and shit, but so I never went through that. I remember though my sister's father, yeah, it was Bill. My sister's dad, and she's an older sister. She's like 48 right now. And he was a Nam vet. He was a CB in Nam. And he was not good to my mother, let's say. I heard, And I remember before I enlisted, before I went off to MEPS and then off to Benning, like he came, I was down seeing my sister. And we went to some like some family thing with him. He was there. And he like took me aside and first explains like, you have no reason to like me or respect me at all, and I understand that, and I don't ever expect you to, and I'm saying this to you because you need to hear it. You're going into the infantry. Odds are good you're gonna kill a man. Now, one or two things are gonna probably happen to you when that happens. One, you'll when the adrenaline wears off, you'll remember it. You'll start feeling weird and you'll start feeling sick. And then you'll probably maybe throw up a little bit, feel really weird. Who knows? But then you'll start getting nightmares and it'll affect you and it'll haunt you for the rest of your life. That's if you're lucky. If you're not lucky, you will do it and then you'll see the body and you won't feel anything. And then you'll do it again. It won't be anything. It'll be doing your job. And then eventually you'll notice like, hey, I'm kind of good at this. And you'll start enjoying it. And when you get to that point, you'll never be able to do anything again, like anything else. That'll be you. And it'll always be inside of you. And it will eat you up in ways that you don't even notice. I'm like, well, that's fucked up. And then when I got out, right, when they drummed me out, a couple years later, I decided, like, well, I got to make something of this life, and I go to college. I'm in college, and I'm surrounded by all these guys. They're the shitbag community-level corporate school on the GI Bill, because that's all it can afford. And a lot of pogues, like, and I don't say that disrespectfully, but like a lot of natty guard green zone kind of guys.
Yep.
Yeah, they come up and they'd be like, "Oh, bro, you were in. Oh, you need to go back in. You need to go and serve over there. It's the best thing you'll ever do. Best thing you'll ever do, right?" And then the combat vets, yeah. And I noticed those were the guys, the green zone pogues. Those are the guys like they'll wear their tags on the outside of their shirt. They'll fucking, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. They'll strut around like swinging dicks, right? Like, I'm a veteran, don't fuck with me.
Boot shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, those are those guys. And then I noticed like we had a number of infantry guys, Marine and Army infantry.
Yeah.
Who'd been through the shit. A couple guys who were in Fallujah. And it's funny because, like, after these guys are done puffing their chests and talking about all this, like, they'd fuck off and I'd just be outside smoking in between classes and these guys come up and be like, yo, so, did you serve? And I'd be like, oh, yeah, it's complicated. And I'd tell them what happened. I tell them my story.
Yeah.
And these guys are like, "Oh, I think you're the luckiest fucking guy I know right now." Then, I can't sleep anymore, you know, and I sleep on the couch now because I can't sleep next to my wife. I'm thinking I should probably get divorced, you know, for her sake and the kids, you know. And I'm like, holy shit, like you are a broken man. And it's such a weird dichotomy because I see the same thing, like people who've seen horror and violence in real life and been up close to it. They don't have the same sort of romantic view that the kids who like, oh, I got my leg holstered with my laser scope, and my 30 round mag from my Glock that I carry everywhere, and I got my Oakleys on, you see, and I'm ready for anything. Like, no, you are fucking not. No, you are not. Not in the slightest.
So when my dad was, he was a firearms instructor for a state police organization in New England, and
Mass?
I'm not going to get into specifics,
Okay.
but he actually no, I will. It was Vermont.
Oh.
So like one of the things he did is he was doing firearms instruction, and he had 4 videos he would show recruits. 2 of them it worked out well for the cop. 2 of them it did not.
Mm-hmm.
And he made this analogy to the recruits. It's like, look, it's like a crossing a bridge thing. It's like you need to reflect, do some serious personal introspection, and either decide that you can cross the bridge and take a human life in pursuance to your duties in order to save your own life,
Or someone
your
else's.
fellow officer,
Yep.
A civilian, or if you look into the pit of your soul and realize that you can't do it, you need to walk away from this job. There's no shame in that. Just not everyone's cut out for it, you know.
What? I mean,
But
no.
if you can't do it, you need to be a civilian.
Yeah. Well, you know,
And so the fucked up 2020 politics version of this is that the current commandant or whatever, the guy in charge of the state police in Vermont, he wants to be governor someday. He had political connections coming up, and he's decided that his claim to fame, his seat to the governor office, is he's going to make the Vermont State Police 60% female. And to do that, they're promising that they will never need to use a gun in the line of duty. They will never face the possibility of like life or death situations. And they're taking that training out of the academy because the women that they'd made these promises to on recruitment were seeing the reality of what can happen on the job and going, oh my God, I don't want to do that.
Oh, and so to keep them coming after the job, they've taken that portion out?
Yeah.
See, that's the weird thing is like the only degree I have is a 2-year degree in criminal justice, right? And and I only started studying that because I wanted to go into private investigation, so I wanted to learn like basic shit around skip tracing and investigation shit. That's what I always loved. And it was funny though because you get into a criminal justice program and you get a lot of these. It was funny too because this was like 2004, 2005, right? And we had a lot of people initially, and this is one of the things I'm noticing. I find sickening about like we as a culture, we are poor consumers of media. Like we're bad in both that we don't know we don't know how to judge news correctly, and we don't know how to separate fact from fiction when we watch movies and TV shows. We had all these people that wanted to get into this criminal justice program and join the police force to be CSIs because they watched CSI. and
Mhm.
they all thought they'd be running around making arrests and busts with their guns, and then like as soon as like it was, and then one of the first things in the first class, he was a sheriff's deputy for like I want to say like 15, 20 years, and then he started teaching to like offset his student loans.
Yep.
And yeah, and he straight up asked one of these days, he's like, how many of you want to be work in crime scene investigation? A whole bunch of people raised their hand. He's like, and how many of you think you're going to be out making arrests when you do that? And then like a few hands went down and a bunch stayed up. He's like, all right, I'm going to let you know now, that's lab work. You're training to be a lab rat. Well, not a lab rat. You're training to be a lab worker. You're gonna show up after the scene. You're gonna look at the horror show that remains after the scene. You're going to have to collect physical evidence, and then you're going to spend most of your time in a crime scene lab, looking over hair samples and
Bagging
shit.
it.
Yeah, bagging it,
Yeah.
processing it, and that kind of thing. Bunch of people dropped out.
Paperwork.
Well, then we had a bunch of other people, too, who were, like, super gung-ho, like, yeah, I want to go bust criminals. I want to do this and that. And it was funny because the veteran cops, with the one exception who was this dipshit who loved to talk about how he was National Guard Special Forces or something, never went into action, but he trained about how to disarm a nuclear device. Like, oh, okay, Bernie Sparks, thank you. I shit you not, that was his name, Bernie Sparks. Guy was a fucking moron. And well, I mean, this is the guy we had one course that was called Investigations and Interrogation, right? This guy was straight up saying, he's like, well, the best way to close a case is with a confession, and the best way to get a confession is to press him on it. I'm like, Are you telling me coerced confessions is what you're teaching me here? The rest of the officers, though, they were always talking about, like, they were lamenting the fact that police training has devolved more into use of force and control of situation as opposed to de-escalation and actual policing and community management. And they'd say shit like, and I saw this when I worked in D.C. with Acorn there organizing. And it's a funny thing, like the snitches get stitches mentality, that gangsta snitches get stitches thing, that didn't happen because of gangster rap. That happened because the police had been turned into a patrolling city guards, Skyrim-style city guard, who would show up in high-crime, low-income areas that they used to patrol on foot and know the neighborhood. And so it'd be like if little Johnny was fucking around breaking into cars, oh yeah, like Esther and like the other ladies of the community would tell Officer so-and-so, like, you got to go take care of him. And he'd go and tell him, be like, listen, if you fuck around like this, I'm going to arrest you and I'm going to tell your mother.
Yeah.
And that was that. And now it's about like, it's these jarheads that show up, grab their vest, assess the situation, calm down. You are disobeying. Arrest this one. It's that kind of shit. And it's this disconnect because there's so much, I think there's like the romanticization of violence and use of force is so prevalent in our society. You see it not only with the police, but also like, what do you get when you have people who think that like, they need to make a statement? Oh, I'm going to show up with my fucking modded out AR, my Facebook body armor, and my Punisher skull mask to show you that I've got a dick and it swings seriously, honey. Even though, like, this person has probably never seen an ounce of fucking real violence or combat in their life. And so we have this romantic notion of what it is that brings us to this point where we think, that's how you solve problems. Violence, or the threat thereof.
There's a lot of moving pieces here. On the police side, a lot of it is we don't hire enough officers. We don't pay the guys that we hire enough to attract the people we really want to attract to the job.
And definitely don't train them enough.
Yeah. Oh my God. And so administrators and leaders of police departments are having to make decisions. What corners do they think they can get away with cutting?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like with use of force, they have to give their officers enough to kind of navigate the threats that are potentially facing.
Well,
And I think that mostly happens at the academy, though.
oh,
Because
all of
when
it.
they get out,
Yeah.
when they get out to an actual department, they fire their gun once or twice a year.
To qualify. Yeah.
Well, and the qualification counts as the training.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's
Um,
and that's precisely it. And the sad thing is though is that let's even take this notion of both between like the private citizen who thinks strapping up and running off into a conflict zone is a way to be a hero, as well as like, the police who are undertrained in terms of actual situation management, and what they're trained is to subdue situations with force. You couple that with like the political pushes on that side, all the get tough measures, the drug war, the get tough on crime, all of this shit. It's
well, it's just feeding. There's a whole bunch of toxic feedback loops there.
Yeah, well, no,
You're asking the police to do more than they really ought to do because they're now dealing with victimless crimes.
Mhm.
But you also have the gang violence feedback loop. When they're dealing with that situation, they're dealing with a more violent class of criminal. Like the guy that's mugging you or me, like I give him the $20 in my wallet and he's gone.
Yeah, he's probably not rocking colors because
And he never knows that I'm carrying a P365 and I could have fucking wasted him because it's not worth it to me. And
to kill another human being over what little money you have in your phone, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, the crazy thing though is even in the allocation of resources, like you're talking about here. Think about this. Why, the notion that we have police departments throughout the country which have MRAPs, right?
Well,
but they don't.
Kind of
but they don't have enough money for actual de-escalation training. They don't have enough money to establish foot patrol substations in high issue neighborhoods.
That's the shit that proves the rule. They have the MRAP because it was free.
Yeah. Well,
the DOD was giving that away. Well, they thought it was free. They got it delivered to them for free. They subsequently learned that, oh my God, these are fucking expensive to maintain. So they only bring them out for riots and
not just that,
and shit.
But also, I mean, here's a common thing is that like both the police and the communities that they patrol and police, they all already paid for that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like so there's all this money in these systems that goes all this different ways, and yet for some reason, and this is
it's a giant rolling liability machine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can do like 35 miles an hour straight lane on a hardball with those things safely.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
yeah.
You try to take.
You have to make turns. You're taking the fucking side off of a house.
Yeah, this is. I mean,
and really, the department just needed an armored truck, maybe, or wanted an armored truck so it could deal with like a barricaded fucking dude in his, who's beating his wife.
Yeah, like if you're gonna, I mean, if yeah, it's like
they just wanted something they could hide behind while he ran out of ammo, and then they could go run in and but they don't have the money for that. And if they coughed up the money for that, they have to give something else up that they couldn't, get away with. So the DOD is like, "Hey, here's a Max Pro," and they're like, "What?" and then they learn why the DOD is giving it away.
You want to know? you want to know another funny thing that I discovered that I heard more veteran cops talk to? Because like I'm a guy who in his life has been arrested a few times.
Mm-hmm.
A few, maybe more than a few, but well, like my thing is every time I've been arrested, right? As soon as the bracelets go on me, I'm just like, all right, well, I guess the rest of my night's pretty much decided. Just gonna go on autopilot and try and enjoy myself. And part of that is just fucking chatting with my arresting officers, right? Even to a point where there was one time I was sitting on this tiny little bench. I'm handcuffed to the bench. It's just me and this cop. He's doing my paperwork. You know, he's doing all the fucking booking shit. It's just me and him, tiny little police department. I'm just like, you know what? I should annoy this guy. And I looked over at him. He's about like 3 or 4 years younger than I am, but I looked. He's got high and tight, carries himself a military bearing, all this. I'm like, hey. He's like, what do you need? I'm like, you're prior service, ain't you? He's like, I have a lot of. I'm sorry, sir. I have a lot of paperwork here to do. I'm like, I just. Let me guess, you were a Marine, huh? Then he just stops and sighs and kind of like sits up. He's like, yes, I was in the Marine Corps. I'm like, that's cool. I was in the Army. You know, ain't no shame in it. So, you got any kids? Wait, hang on. And I saw this look. I'm like, wait, hang on. You're a new daddy, aren't you? How's that treating you? And I just like sat there shot in the shit with him. But I mean, like, I've even had cops that have arrested me that have, like, I've just, like, seen them in the street or something, and we just strike up a conversation, you know? And it's funny, because I'll even hear them, like, you'll hear the young cops, like, yeah, we got M4s in our fucking cruisers now, and, you know, they're centered, like, mounted right in the center there, so they could just be deployed real easy. And then I talk to the veteran cops, and I'm like, I fucking hate these things. Honestly, if they take one more square inch out of my cabin when I'm on patrol, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. I'm like, really? Yeah. I asked him, I remember when they started using chargers. I'm like, how do you like those chargers? And he's like, I fucking hate it. It's not meant for a large man who works out. And then they stuff all this computer shit in there. And it's terrible. It's like driving a Miata. And it's like, and you realize, you know, it's that whole bad apples, good apples thing. And the thing is like, you know, they like to paint it as though like most cops, you know, some are like, most cops just want to be out there saving lives. And the other half are like, most cops just want to be out there brutalizing people. Both of those guys exist. But the real middle ground, they're just guys who, like, want to do their job. Like, they want to, like, you know, if they can do some good, they can do some good. They prefer, like, because I remember I've gotten stopped for, like, traffic violations. And I'm cool with them when they do it, too. And I've even had it explained to me. They're like, honestly, I find doing these things exceptionally annoying. And I'm like, you'd rather be out there doing something else. I'd rather be sitting in my cruiser, having people slow down when they see me. That way I know I don't have to pull them over, and I don't have to do anything. I'm like,
my dad used to park his cruiser on like I-89 at a very visible turnaround and do paperwork.
Oh yeah, there was. I mean, some of them. They take naps sometimes.
They always have a ton of paperwork they have to do. That's one of the reasons. So, like, I because of Twitter, I found out that a lot of departments have an IQ requirement.
Yeah.
Where you can't have too high an IQ. And I saw that. I'm like, that sounds like bullshit. So I investigated it, and it turns out to be true.
Oh yeah.
But it actually makes sense once you actually get into the details, which is, you want a police officer to be smarter than average, but the problem is if they're too smart, they get bored.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, and
you sink all this money into training somebody to be a cop. They get into the job. They start to be productive. Like, you start to get a return on your money, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm fucking bored. I'm quitting."
Yeah. Or actually, I've heard of that.
All of that money that you just sunk into them is gone.
Yeah, like the veteran cop. I remember. Well, I mean, here in New Hampshire, for instance, like you know the classic thing: you flash your high beams to let someone know that there's a cop, you know, a speed trap ahead.
Yeah.
Now that's technically illegal here. Just because the New Hampshire legislature is a bunch of fucking octogenarian fuckbags who have nothing better to do, and so it's a hobby. But But I mean, I asked numerous like usually veteran police, but I asked a number of like patrol officers and shit. I'd be like, what do you think about that? Like, well, technically that's illegal, and they kind of give you that like sideways glance, like, okay, I said that. Now, having said that, listen, if you can get people to slow down and not drive recklessly so that I don't have to, oh, fuck, I love that. Please do more of that. Yeah. And it's
have you seen the video? I think I just did a cursory Google search. It might have been a Connecticut state trooper. There's this officer. He's about to retire, and he's pulled some guy over, and he's just flipping his shit at him because basically the guy was just like, you did something I could have ignored, but you know, like you cut me off and you flipped me, or like, and this guy is just berating this driver. He's just like I'm 3 months away from retiring. What the, you know, like you're just fucking with my life. What the hell?
Well, it's
I
another.
think it's a Connecticut State Trooper.
Well, I mean, another. It's interesting because like another, and this is something I found out when I studied policing, and in general. So like we always hear about quotas, right? Arrest quotas and this and that. Now, what I've been told is that officially departments do not have arrest quotas. But the problem comes is because the way, it's like the way we budget things. Because, we're a transactional culture to where it's always about like, I need return on my investment kind of thing. And so what you end up getting is departments being pressured by higher ups who are pressured by higher ups, etc. Like, yo, you gotta make more arrests. You gotta make more arrests because that justifies bigger budget requests. And if nothing else, that justifies maintaining a standard budget so that like the hours and the overtime and the maintenance kind of shit can happen. And part
Well,
of
if
that,
nothing else, you need a way of evaluating your officers.
oh, absolutely. But like the quota thing is actually, it generally has more to do with securing budgets because the fights I know around here, right? Like one of the big things I noticed, if you drive around New Hampshire, and I'm guessing most states, take a look anytime you see like police doing road details, like, traffic details, construction details, that sort of thing. More often than not, they are increasingly younger and younger cops. And the reason for that is because most departments base pension on the last 5 years of gross salary. So what they want to make sure is that even though it should be the old guys, right, who deserve a chance to like get some overtime by just standing outside of like a construction zone and just directing traffic, like even though it should be them, they're putting the young guys on there that way they don't have to like worry about paying out pensions so much. And so it's just these weird things, and that it's the way the entire system is set up that we've gotten further and further away from the post Pinkerton idea of protect and serve, because that's where it really came from. The Pinkertons, like the organization of the Pinkertons, was what brought the militaristic structure of rank, order, standard operating procedure to policing. Because prior to that, it was marshals and deputies and sheriffs and what have you. But even after that, like that's when the shift from the police's job, it used to be the police's job was to protect property. They were there to protect property, and typically they were there to serve as a bulwark against the poor and those who had power and money. And then after the Pinkerton sort of mainstreaming and militarization of it, and the Pinkertons were bad, bad, bad dudes anyway, but when that became like sort of the new philosophy behind policing, that's when you started getting that classic officer friendly on foot patrol. The whole neighborhood knows him. He knows them all by name. Nothing gets away from him. When serious shit goes down, the community wants to cooperate. And we got to that, and now we're drifting back into that militarized city guard mentality where fuck the police, snitches get stitches, police aren't your friend, never talk to them without a lawyer. And I mean, it makes sense in this day and age to have that mentality, but it was this shift, and I think the drug war was probably the big thing that pushed it, is because that's when
It's certainly part of it.
Well, SWAT teams,
No question.
When we created SWAT teams, like SWAT teams were initially really only intended for use in like hostage situations. And then when the drug war came around, they started realizing they could use it for more and more. And then the natural escalation of force occurred in that, okay, so now you've got police with with assault rifles, body armor, helmets, operating, in militarized teams. Well, what is the opposition going to do? Well, they're going to get bigger guns too. And they're going to, they're like, all right, well then, these police with their 12 gauges and their revolvers, no, they don't have a chance against my fucking AK. And so then the police, as we saw with that bank robbery in LA, the famous one, that's when they're like, all right, we need to start carrying heavier weapons. And then that just kept escalating. And this divide between police and society became so great that police are no longer part of communities. They are simply there to monitor and control them.
a couple comments. That so with what we were just talking about, maybe think of, so I'm taking a constitutional law class this semester, and I just had to annotate Korematsu versus U.S. And so it in the like the big really profound dissenting opinion, uh, the Supreme Court justice writing it quoted this guy Judge Cardozo, who said the tendency of a principle to expand itself to the limits to of its logic. So I mean, he's talking about legal principles, but it's the same sort of same sort of thing, where you create a entity like a SWAT team. It's just there's going to be mission creep to the limits. It can get up like it goes to ad absurdum. But kind of going back to where this started, talking to my father this summer, because I was there visiting him when the dude in Atlanta who got shot outside the fast food restaurant, when that video was released. So that's the time frame. I'm hanging out with my dad anyway, but once this happens, he's talking with a bunch of his friends who are almost all cops. And being my dad, for whatever reason, he speaks on speakerphone all the time.
I do that too, so.
So I at least hear both sides of the conversation. But so talking about these issues with him, something I learned then that I didn't really understand previously is overtime is really the bane of almost every police department's existence. That's one of the reasons why training becomes such a issue, because if you think about something like say like escalation of force training, to do it right, it's really expensive. Okay, even if you have everybody you need, all the expertise you need in your department, you need a trainer, you need role players, you probably want an observer,
Yes.
and then you need the people actually doing the training, plus you need people covering the shift.
You also need what's that? It's simunition, I think it's called.
Well, you don't necessarily need that, but it could be helpful to
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
And then you also need to be able to rotate through 2 or 3 shifts doing all this stuff. So when you do training like that, it eats up overtime just like a motherfucker. There's so many people that you have to have intrinsically to do it that there's no way you can get around overtime. So things like that, because it's really like doing use of force properly, or especially escalation of force properly, you need to put people into difficult scenarios where they have to make choices, and you have to have time to do like an AAR, like an after action review, and say, okay, well, here's what you did right, here's what you did wrong, or what you could do better. And
Well,
it's really time involved, it's really technical, like.
What's interesting.
And so what happens is police departments do very little of that because it's so expensive, and they just kind of do like the sensitivity training. It's just a PowerPoint slide.
Yeah. Little classroom activity.
You can hit a whole shift in 15 minutes, and whatever. So you kind of do like what one of my COs called the distractors, like the training that doesn't actually pertain to your job.
But but we logged your hours doing it, so you stayed awake.
Right, and HR is going to be happy because hey, they did sexual assault prevention training, but it's not actually the stuff that is getting departments into trouble or causing national incidents.
I suppose in a way, and because I do have to round this out, and I did want to let Mickey come in just to say at least good night before we do. But I think it's an interesting thing to think about, though, is that if we're going to act like and treat our police forces as though they were military forces, the way we are
Yeah.
increasingly doing. It behooves us to make sure that they get at least as much training as the military does, because I know,
Oh yeah.
yeah, your average soldier, like like when if you're not humping, you're doing, you're in class, you're training, you're learning something, they're gonna put.
There's no good that can possibly come of holding police to standards that we're not actually preparing them for.
Yep. Yeah.
Because what's going to happen is the people we want to stay in the job,
They're
they
gonna.
have other options.
Oh yeah,
They could do something else.
You do 5 years. You do 5 years on a city police force where you basically just eating the standard shit that a city cop has to eat, and then also getting thrown into situations where you're told the best way to handle this is by just subduing everyone. Yeah. And then it's after that bullshit, and especially with and I'll be honest, I do feel like the political environment, the public outrage against police, I don't think it's entirely correct in the way it's framed, but it's very understandable, let's say.
Oh yeah,
And
no question.
and so you got that. It's you do 5 years on a police force, you get out of there, you can go make 2 or 3 times what you were making as a cop in private security, and they will give you way more training, because it's that's a corporation, that's a business. They're like, oh yeah, I don't know, we need to cover our asses on liability. Our insurance policy isn't covered by the state government, let's say. So,
Right.
well, let me ask you this before I let you go. You got anything you want to leave us with tonight?
Don't do anything stupid, people.
Oh yeah, it's not gonna fly. I'm gonna do.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do 2 or 3 stupid things after I'm done here. So.
Well, I mean, all right, let's put it this way. If by some freak chance someone listening to this is just like, yeah, fuck it, knock it over, you're not gonna like what happens if you do.
I will,
For
but
the love of shit, people. Let's, for the love of shit, people,
yeah.
figure out how to dial this back. I guarantee you, the problems that are out there, they're not as bad as they seem. If we step back, if we dial down the motions, we can probably find a lot of productive avenues to fix things. But if we keep going to 11 on everything, on incomplete information, on probably bad information because you're a shitty consumer of information, like every American, we're in deep shit.
Yeah. So
And
yeah. So
what comes after this is going to be worse than this.
yeah. So either listen to the guy who's seen what things look like when they've gone to shit, and who is a voice of reason, or just keep feeding me, because I'm
YOLO.
I'm a villain. I'm a super villain these days. What can I say? Well, Swarby, come on in more often, homie. It's good to talk to you again.
All right, man. Take care.
Have a good one. All right, finally, I'm going to bring, because she's been waiting so patiently, and we are going to round it out. So we're going to round this show out with the Mickey Ficky, assuming her headphones and mic are working. Mickey, are you there?
Hey, yeah, I'm here.
Excellent.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you up there. But I am going to be, well, I'm closing the show out. I saw you jump back in. I wanted to give you the chance to have like a little final word before I close this thing out and then go piss my brains out. What would you like to offer to the denizens of the netosphere before we head on out tonight?
I don't know. I'm not doing too good. I'm sleeping a lot, and I think all this, all the bullshit that's going on with the pandemic, being stuck at home, not working, everything is just come crashing down on me, and I think I'm just like fucking tired and feel like sleeping my life away. So by all means, if any of you needs someone to just listen, you need someone to tell you how to fix your life, whatever you need, by all means, please talk to me, because I really could use a a reprieve from my head. That would be just wonderful.
Well,
Yeah.
to those who've heard that, if you want, jump on into the Discord and holler at Mickey any old time you got anything you want to talk to, or just maybe jump in and watch a movie or something. Yeah, that'd be a good thing. We had a good deal of community support during the lockdown, and that was a good time. Also, Mickey, I'll advise you. Now is the optimal time to smoke a whole lot of weed.
Well, I think Frank would have a massive cow about that. So I think I'll.
That's why you
I
do
think
it.
I'll.
That's why you do it in private. Duh, Jesus. I have to explain everything.
Sure.
Well,
Yeah.
well, at that rate, though, I am gonna shut this bitch down now because my bladder's about to burst, and I am sleepy. Also, I'm gonna try and get up at like 9 tomorrow, which is gonna be a pain in the ass, but we'll see what happens. So
Yeah.
I'll start off by saying good night to you there, Mickey.
All right.
Have yourself a
Good night,
good
sir.
evening. Thanks to everybody else who jumped in tonight. Thank you, Canuck, for the resubscription tier 127 months. Crispy Gin resubscribed at Prime for 24 months going, and Skull Maggot hosted. It's been a quiet show, but again, this week it's all about getting back on the old feet there. And I'll get there soon, and we'll get back to our regularly scheduled programming in no time at all. But until then, be well, do good works, and keep in touch. That's right, I'm ripping off fucking Keeler there. That's right, NPR style.